friends, welcome to the Share Report. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. And for those who are returning, thank you so much for your faithfulness and your support. It is definitely appreciated. So I wanted to roll right into this video. I have spoken about property taxes so many times on this channel. I am very passionate about it because to me, property taxes is theft, especially for the person working really hard for a home in order to pay rent to the government to live in their home. So I'm bringing this up again because I want you guys to keep this in the forefront of your mind. It is so important that we remember this, and we are for no paying of property taxes, no property taxes whatsoever. So here in the state of Florida, I had brought this up last year, probably around this same time, that there were a lot of states really working towards eliminating property taxes. And I had mentioned that in February of 2025, which we are now past, we're now in April, we were going to be discussing the study of the elimination of property taxes. And here we are in April, and there has been a discussion from Ron DeSantis about eliminating property taxes and cutting back in the meantime and all the things. So I'm so excited. I'm going to play a little clip for you. I'm probably going to portion this off in segments so it's not overwhelming to you, but the whole speech that he gave about eliminating property taxes was great. And I'm so excited for it because for Floridians, we have been taxed so hard on our properties, and with so many people flooding the state, it's a high demand for living here. So I think that this whole eliminating property taxes is going to be a very, very good thing. So I wanted to preface something because a lot of people do not know this, even though they may have owned a home for many, many years. Some people do not know that the fact, if you do not pay your property taxes, I did say at one time it was 3 years, but I recently found out that that number has decreased and now it is 2 years. So if you don't pay your property taxes, even though you have your house paid off, in 2 years, you can lose your home. So I think that is a crime, and it defeats the purpose of having freedom and defeats the purpose of owning property, the freedom of owning property and land and everything of that sort. So it defeats the purpose of us working so hard to achieve something so big and monumental as purchasing a home in order to basically rent it to the government. So in essence, every single time you pay property taxes, you're basically writing the government a check saying, can I still sleep in my room? Can I still live in my home? Can I still come home every single day and live in my dwelling? And if I don't, you're going to take it from me, even though I worked so hard and I signed it on the dotted line that I was going to pay the mortgage and pay this off in 30 years. So those are the things that you have to think about. It is theft. The property taxes is, especially now with it being skyrocketed, so high. So like I said, I'm going to play the clipping for you. I'm going to portion this off in segments. There's actually a gentleman who's owned a home for many, many years, and he paid his home off many, many years ago, and he's going to be talking to, but I'll probably play that in the second segment. But I just wanted to keep this on the forefront of your mind that it's coming soon, and that we should all be advocates of owning our property, the free market of owning our property and not having to pay rent to the government, and basically getting our property confiscated if we do not pay them a tax. So I want you guys to keep that in mind, and I'm going to roll right into this clip because it is so worth playing and seeing over and over again. And then please, 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 please share this video with others, educate people, keep the elimination of property taxes on the forefront of their mind as well, because like I said, we all need to get on board. We all need to be active citizens. Share this with other Floridians, share this with people that are outside the state because they needed to see it themselves. Maybe they'll get on board and want to talk to their elected officials, elected servants, or people that help them out or are supposed to be for them, elected officials, to help them to get on board as well as eliminating property taxes. And in the next following clips, I'm going to play key things because there's a lot of things that pop up, questions and concerns. Some are valid and some people are just very ignorant. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. Where they're like, well, what about police officers? What about schools? What about roads? So there's something that Governor DeSantis is going to be putting in place that will be very beneficial for people who have those questions. So that'll be in the next segment. Stay tuned. But in the meantime, I'm going to play this clip, and be sure to share, subscribe, all the things, and thanks for being here.
This morning. So I think most people who've been in Florida over the recent years have seen, on the one hand, if you're a homeowner and you bought a home 5-10 years ago, your home's worth a lot more now, just based on the market, based on people wanting to have a demand to live in Florida. And so, there's obviously a lot of benefits that come to that. I mean, I know people who bought their homes for $250,000 30 years ago, and now they're assessed at over $1 million. That's not something that is out of the ordinary, and that is a source of wealth, particularly if you're free and clear of the mortgage. But one of the drawbacks of that is you have bought a house at a certain price. You can obviously afford that. You may have been taxed at that price at the time. Now you have local governments telling you, well, actually, no, your house is worth more. Pony up more to us in the form of property taxes. And so people have seen, even with homestead exemption, it has not been enough to be able to protect people against these rising assessments. And then, of course, if you're in a situation, and look, we have a relatively mobile workforce. I mean, if you're somebody that has a job in Tampa and then you have a better offer to come to Orlando, you sell that house, but then now you're buying a new house at a higher value, you're locked into a higher tax base right there. And so that has been something that's been very difficult for a lot of people to afford. And then, of course, you've got elderly on fixed income. They had budgeted for a certain number of costs, and now all of a sudden they're having to see more and more in the form of higher property assessments. So we've recognized this as an issue. I was the first, I think, elected official in Florida, to call for a constitutional amendment to protect people against what's happening with property taxes. Now, there's a lot that's going to go into that. That'll be on the ballot, hopefully in 2026. But of all the taxes that are impacting Floridians, right now, property taxes are the most significant. I can tell you when people talk to me about taxes, I would say it's like 99% talk about property taxes. That is something that people are concerned about. So when you're doing proposals, whether it's working with the legislature, whether it's putting something on the ballot, to me, the threshold question is the tax relief needs to be Florida first. We need to focus on our Florida residents. We need to focus on, in this case, Florida homeowners, particularly our homesteaded homeowners, and we need to focus the relief there. I want Canadian tourists and Brazilian tourists subsidizing the state and making it so Florida residents pay less taxes. I don't want to give Canadians a tax cut.